Hello, my name is Catherine Hammond, and I'm the founder of Hammond Law Group. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that I can share some estate planning information. So welcome. This webinar is presented by Hammond Law Group to provide support and guidance for you, the ones taking care of the rest of us and putting your lives at risk. As I mentioned, my name is Catherine Hammond, and I have a number of different credentials that some of you may be curious about. I'm an estate planning attorney here in Colorado, and our firm focuses only on estate planning and elder law. I'm on the board of governors for the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys. I had the honor of co-authoring the book on estate planning for the state of Colorado with the founders of the Academy. But what I think is most important for you to know about me has nothing to do with any of these credentials. You see, when I was about 12 years old, my mother handed me an article from the Denver Post about Alzheimer's disease and said, "I think I have this." By the time I was in college, she was put on disability from her job as a special ed teacher. And when I was 22, I had to begin the process of moving her into a nursing home. But in order to get her there, I had to hire a lawyer, drag her down to court, have her publicly declared incompetent, and began having to ask for permission from the court for every little thing. It was an expensive and really intrusive process, and I decided to go to law school to help people find a way to minimize those headaches for our families when disability and death occur. My passion is educating the public about the system and about your options so that you can choose the best path for you and your loved ones. Over the next few minutes, we're going to cover the legal basics for when an emergency happens to you. We'll talk about the impact of a serious illness or accident for you and your family, the estate planning documents you need in case an emergency happens to you, how to protect your minor children if you have an emergency, the legal impact on your family if you die, and details about the estate planning documents included in the scholarship that we're offering for you and for your spouse if you're married. They say that 60 to 70% of Americans have absolutely no estate planning documents in place. We all know that we're going to die, so what gets in the way of us planning for the inevitable? The first thing is procrastination. We think we have more time. You know better than anyone that emergencies happen, and they can happen to any of us at any time. The second reason most people don't have documents in place is a lack of knowledge. We don't know exactly what we need, and we're too busy with our daily lives and responsibilities to gather the information until a crisis comes. So here's my question. What would happen to your family if something catastrophic happened to you tomorrow? There's much that depends on whether you have children or not, whether you're married or not. Today, we will briefly address the issues that come up no matter what your age or family status. I'm going to talk about this in terms of the situations that come up when there's not a pandemic going on. You'll be able to understand how the normal risks relate to the specific concerns that you might have right now during the pandemic. Maybe you're like Bill and Mary. You're established, your kids are grown. You know that you need to get around to getting a will or updating the will that you have, but life keeps getting in the way. Let's talk about what happens when we procrastinate, like Bill and Mary did. One day, right after breakfast, Bill has a stroke. It's a substantial one, and now he's incapacitated. He can no longer manage his own affairs or communicate his medical wishes. Poor Mary has to hire a lawyer and go to court to set up a conservatorship and guardianship to take care of Bill. As you may know, if you're incapacitated, either temporarily or permanently, your spouse can't sell your home, pay your bills, or even call the cable company if that's set up in your name. It would be much easier on our families in the middle of a crisis if we had planned ahead and empowered our families to take care of things without needing to get the court's permission. Maybe you're a little younger and you're not worried about a stroke. Real life can happen at any age. Let's say you're out on date night, whether it's with your boyfriend or your spouse. It's a rainy night and a drunk driver runs a red light and runs into you. You're rushed to the hospital. Now, you may have family or loved ones who would be there to help when the emergency happens to you. But in today's society, unless you have exactly the right documents in place, we have to get lawyers and judges involved. Again, your loved ones can't even talk to the cable company these days, much less find out what hospital you're in, pay your bills, or sell your house. In addition, if you have minor children at home and you haven't signed a document giving legal authority to a temporary guardian, the court may have to get involved, and Child Protective Services can get involved if there's nobody immediately available with the right authorization. The legal system requires that someone have specific legal authority to do the things that need to be done for you in the event of an emergency, including caring for your children. So how do you keep your family from having to deal with the legal system when the emergency happens to you? That's what estate planning documents are for. Whether you're incapacitated temporarily or permanently, a good basic plan will empower someone to take care of your financial affairs and medical decisions, get basic medical information, care for your minor children, and handle whatever other legal concerns you might have in case you become disabled temporarily or permanently, or when you pass away. There are two basic categories of duties if something happens to you: decisions about your person, mostly medical decisions, and financial responsibilities. For the financial side of things, you need a durable power of attorney for property. This document names someone to take care of your banking, real estate, and investment transactions in the event that you're incapacitated. There are a variety of types of powers of attorney. We'll make sure you have exactly the right one in case you need it. It's important to understand that although powers of attorney might say that they're durable, they don't work forever. Most financial institutions are afraid of being sued over powers of attorney, so they won't accept them once they're more than a year or two old. So this is a document that you might need to do again every year or so. And even then, if you have become incapacitated and stay alive for a while, your family still might have to involve lawyers and judges at some point. But it's important to have a power of attorney at a minimum. Then there are the medical directives, which you're probably familiar with, but I'll go ahead and go through them. In Colorado, the basic ones are the healthcare power of attorney, which authorizes someone to make medical decisions if you can't communicate them, and the advance directive or living will, which gives specific instructions under very limited circumstances. There are also some variations, like the most form, which you get from a doctor. That's a short document which becomes a medical order, but it doesn't cover everything. To me, the most important thing is to name someone who can make your medical decisions, and then to have a conversation with your loved ones about what makes life meaningful to you and under what circumstances you would not want your family to prolong your life. The other document that's important is the universal HIPAA release, allowing the people that you name to talk to doctors and emergency medical personnel to get even the most basic medical information. I don't know what the policies are for your organization, but I have lots and lots of stories of people whose loved one landed in the hospital after an accident, and then when they called the hospital to find out whether their spouse or adult child is there, the hospital won't even confirm or deny their presence. It's a nightmare, and it happens more and more because everyone's afraid of litigation. The universal HIPAA release completely eliminates this problem. If you have minor children, there are some other documents you may need. One is a temporary guardianship form so that if you have an emergency, someone else is authorized to pick up and/or care for your children so they don't end up in the foster care system, even temporarily. In addition, you may want to have a medical authorization form for all of your child's caregivers. So if your child has an emergency while they're with someone else, that person can get your child the immediate treatment that they need. I can't even take my little granddaughters to gymnastics class without a signed authorization from their parents, much less authorized treatment or surgery. So the basic estate plan for which we are offering scholarships includes the disability plan, which is the financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, living will, and the universal HIPAA release. If you have minor children, we also want to make sure that you know about the emergency medical forms and guardianship forms you may need. Let us know if you need assistance with those documents. Let's talk about the documents you need to plan for the event of your death. A will is important for everyone. It allows you to decide who gets what and names permanent guardians for your children if you die. So that's a bare minimum. And one of the options for your estate plan is that you use a will as the foundation of your plan. But a will still has to go through probate if you own a home or have more than $70,000 in other assets that don't have named beneficiaries. Some people don't want their family to have to deal with the legal system if they're incapacitated or when they die. And so they choose a more comprehensive solution called a revocable living trust. We still do all of the other documents we've mentioned, and with the trust, your family won't have to go through probate when you die. It also lasts for the rest of your life if you're incapacitated, unlike a power of attorney. A living trust is really just an empty theoretical box, and what we do is we take the assets that you currently own, your house, your bank accounts, your investments, things like that, and we transfer them into your name as trustee of your trust. So you're still in complete control. There's nothing that changes, but we have basic protections in place that keep you out of the probate court if you're incapacitated and when you pass away. The specifics of exactly what your plan should look like really depend on your family, your assets, and your goals. And if you have a blended family, there are some additional issues you may need to consider. The next step to get your estate planning documents in place is to click on the link to the calendar in the same email where you received this video and schedule a 30-minute phone or video call with one of our attorneys. When we get on the phone, the attorney will begin by asking you some basic questions about your family, assets, and goals. We'll be able to answer your questions and gather the basic information for your documents over the phone. Then create a plan to sign your documents, either remotely or in a drive-up signing where there's no contact between you and our team. Because of the current crisis, we will focus on getting a basic plan in place for now. You'll have the ability to make basic changes and additions at no cost during the next year, so we'll keep the initial plan simple enough that we can get it in place for you quickly. You may be tempted to put off getting these important documents in place. We get it. You're really busy. I would encourage you to carve out the time to get these documents in place now, so you have some peace of mind about the way you're taking care of your family, even in the midst of taking care of everyone else. We look forward to helping you and your family, and we're deeply grateful for what you're doing for all of us.